Alright, so this summer I read Code Girls by Lisa Mundy. It takes place during World War II and is the untold story of the thousands of women who broke military code during the war. During the 1940s, the Second World War was still raging on in Europe, but after the absolute disaster and embarrassment that was Pearl Harbor for the United States, they decided to enter the war. However, the ability to have prior knowledge about enemy attacks and plans would ensure that the United States would be completely prepared for battles and would help avoid any more Pearl Harbors. But at the time, code breaking or cryptanalysis was not a field that many men were interested in. Every man who enlisted in the Army or Navy did not sign up to sit behind a desk every day deciphering a bunch of enemy code. They wanted to be out in the field or waterfront fighting to show how masculine they were. It was actually seen as very cowardly and not American to not be physically fighting for the United States, even if breaking enemy code was much more important and useful. Not to mention how tedious code breaking is. Before you start to break the important code, you need to learn how to do it. Today, if we wanted to break code, we would just enter it into a computer that would do all the boring work for us. But this is the 1940s, and computers looked like this. And even then, information had to be manually entered in and often took many people and lots of patience and precision. This is where women came into the picture. Before this time, the feminist movement had been gaining some steam and got women the right to vote in the 1920s, which was a huge feat. But at this time, they were focusing mainly on the general inequalities that they were facing in everyday society, like poor working and housing conditions. Fast forward to the 1940s, and the increasing availability of jobs of the men who left to fight for the war really helped the second wave of the movement to get going. But the biggest opportunity for women came when the U.S. Navy and Army began to recruit women to break war codes of enemies. Initially, the invitations to secret meetings were received by an almost rare group of women who were receiving a college education. Yeah, that's right, a college education. At the time, it was unusual to see women trying to receive higher education because of a few different reasons. One being that it was not seen as ladylike. Women belonged in the house, taking care of the children, cooking and cleaning. Not only was college extremely expensive regardless, receiving scholarships were hard to come by, especially to a woman. But some very determined and hardworking women did not focus on all the boundaries put in front of them. They pursued higher education anyway at the limited amount of girls' colleges or colleges that accepted girls. Anyways, the very first series of code breakers had their meetings and trainings for code breaking held in complete secrecy and were not allowed to talk about what they were doing. Even as the operations got larger, women were still not allowed to discuss the job that they were taking or what they were doing behind those closed doors, ensuring that word would not get out that the United States had a dedicated team to break the code, and not to mention a team of women. But regardless, women were seen as perfect candidates for code breaking because the job opportunities for women were scarce anyways, and they would usually take whatever they could get, even if that meant sitting behind a desk for hours trying to decipher a message from letters and numbers. Women were also seen as more patient than men, and in some cases more capable of doing these tedious jobs. These women knew how big of an opportunity this was and were extremely committed to their job, which led to great success in breaking the codes. This success showed the military what a crucial part women would play in the war, and they began to expand this operation. At the beginning, the main candidates for women to break the code were usually the ones who were advanced in fields like math or science. Once they realized they would need more than just a few women to help with the decoding efforts, they began to expand their qualifications to women who were good with languages, music, or basically anyone who wanted to do a puzzle. They began to become really efficient and proved effective with giving U.S. heads up about enemy plans. For instance, women cracking the code helped the Americans know the date and location of the attacks on the Battle of the Midway, which played a very large role in why the Japanese did not take over the entire Pacific Ocean. In fact, a code that was thought to be unbreakable was actually broken by a woman named Agnes Meyer Discroll. The women who broke these codes are the real heroes of the war that we never hear about in our textbooks. Learning about this entire other world that was completely hidden from the rest of us made me really think about what else the government and military could be hiding from us. I mean, come on, how long did they think they could keep this a secret? It's like the aliens. We know they're there, they just don't want to tell us. The government just kind of threw these girls' existence under the rug, like,
you didn't see anything, right?
All because they were almost afraid and ashamed to admit that women could be more helpful and useful than doing the dishes. I believe the author of this book was trying to bring attention to a part of American history that was completely forgotten and was held in secret for so many years. These women were practically sworn into secrecy and did not receive the credit for the work that they did. All because the image of a woman doing a job that was complicated and was built for men was seen as masculine and unladylike. If you are interested in the secret world of these code girls that somehow went under the radar for so many years, other books similar to this may include The Code Breakers by David Kahn, which is about the history of cryptography from all the way back in the times of ancient Egypt to when the book was written in 1967. Another title would be The Rise of the Rocket Girls, which seems to be pretty much the same as Code Girls, meaning a book about a group of secret women who did something great but got no credit for it, but about like building the rocket and sending man to the moon. They actually have a pretty similar title and front cover too. Interesting. But anyway, I'm glad I read Code Girls. But if I had to choose another book to read, I would choose Autobiography of Malcolm X, because actually another book that I read this summer for English, The Other Westmore, mentioned it, and it actually seems pretty interesting. And I find books about activists and people that are really passionate about changing the world is more interesting than a book about fighting war. Never again, Red Badge of Courage. Never again! Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you really liked it. If you're interested in the secret world of Code Girls, I will link a bunch of videos, a bunch of links in the description below. I'll also give like the titles of the book and like Amazon links if you really want to read it, because I really suggest reading it. It's really cool. It's like a complete other world that they've been trying to hide from us for so long, which is really fun and interesting. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you some other day. Okay, bye.